science. So a lot of life is going to be me being like, ah. Also, Pluto has been declared imaginary. 2006, that was when Pluto was first declared imaginary. If I had $10 for every kid who asked me what happened to Pluto, did it explode, I would have thousands of dollars. So many dollars. Did it explode? No, it's still there. It's actually kind of boring. They just reclassified it. Oh well. Pluto.
I think that's how most people view Pluto, is like the government.
A big menacing government agency declared that Pluto is not a planet. It's not even our government. It's like an international body of astronomers who are like, Pluto, not a planet. That's not a thing.
The U.S. government just somehow got rid of Pluto. They took it out.
Poor Pluto. It's still there. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's talking about something. There's a slide up behind him, so he's standing with his microphone looking super serious, and the slide says, Pluto, still not a planet. Get over it. It's on the internet. I'm like, yes. All of those things. So I read somewhere that they were super sneaky about it, and they got all of the astronomers together and had their normal meeting, and then they dismissed, and they're like, if you want to stick around and talk about dwarf planets, you should stick around. Everybody else can go. And so 80% or some ridiculously high number of the International Astronomical Union decided that they didn't want to stick around for this, and whoever was left were the people who voted on making Pluto not a planet anymore. So
it really is a government conspiracy.
It really is. I'm gonna Google and see if that's real, so I can know for future life things. Also, my fingers just automatically type Facebook, and there should be studies on why I go to Facebook instead of anything else in the world. Thanks, Pluto. Pluto not a planet only in New York is the second suggestion, so I have to click on that right now. Oh, this was in 2001 when Pluto was still a planet. Oh my goodness. What? Neil deGrasse Tyson receives irate mail from kids after Pluto is not a planet. What? Dear Mr. Tyson, I think Pluto is a planet. Why do you think Pluto is no longer a planet? I do not like your answer. Pluto is one of my favorite planets. You are going to have to take all of the books and change them. Pluto is a planet. And then in the bottom it has a little picture of Pluto. And it said, your friend Emerson. I'm sorry, Emerson. There are 3 things you need to be a planet. You have to be round, you have to go around the sun, and you have to be the dominant gravitational object in your area of the solar system. I feel like I should get prizes for saying dominant gravitational object twice in a row right now. Dominant gravitational object. So Pluto is round, it's big enough to pull itself into a round shape, because the hydrostatic equilibrium, which the person who explained it to me was because hydrostatic equilibrium, and I was like, hydrostatic equilibrium, I understand, but I do, that's what keeps the sun from exploding, is the outward pressure of the heat on the inside of the star is balanced by the inward pressure of gravity. So it's like a gigantic tug of war. And then when black holes happen, gravity's like, psych it, bitches, and that's how you get a black hole. That's how they're born. They come into the world as badasses from the beginning. So that's what happens then. But how do planets have hydrostatic equilibrium? And I guess the Earth does, the pressure from the interior of the core is balanced by gravity. And so the Earth doesn't explode or implode. That's what hydrostatic equilibrium is. Let me back that up. I'm just explaining my answer to my question. That happens when 2 things are in balance. Equilibrium means balance, and so these things are balanced, like equal-sized kids on the seesaw. There is no fat kid in this equation. When you have fat kids, you have a black hole. Now you know. That one's back. I'm sorry. You can also have a black hole when you have skinny kids, too. You need unbalanced things. Pluto has hydrostatic equilibrium. That's kind of cold. It doesn't really have a molten core. So it's round. And then it does orbit around the sun. That's why what you call it? Titan, which is the biggest moon in the solar system, is actually bigger than the planet Mercury, but it's not a planet because it orbits around Saturn, like everything else in the solar system, I feel like does. That's a lie. Everything orbits around the sun. Don't believe it when they tell you things orbit around other things.
Well, sort of.
Well, so Saturn has 60 moons, and the gigantic rings, and Jupiter has 60 moons, 63, whatever.
Most things in our solar system.
Well, it depends. Define things and things. does like mass count? Because the most massive thing in the solar system other than the sun orbits around the sun, which would be Jupiter. But yeah, so Pluto like orbits around the sun. So that's why Pluto could like still be a planet, but it's not the dominant gravitational object, which I actually think Uranus and Neptune formed a little bit closer to the sun and then migrated out. And that's why Pluto and all the other dwarf planets that orbits are all janky. Blame Uranus is the moral of the story. Do you like how well trained I am to say Uranus and not Uranus? Blame Uranus. Blame Uranus. It's still there.
It's still called Pluto.
I mean, we even have a spaceship that's going to it. Admittedly, that spaceship left when it was still a planet, so that's problematic. But still there. Still doing its stuff. New Horizons 2015 is gonna be great! I'm really excited though. New Horizons.
Explain.
How do you not know? Okay, so New Horizons was a mission that launched in 2006. So it's right around when Pluto was reclassified. So it's gonna get there in 2015, July of 2015. It's like a year from now. It's the fastest moving spaceship that we ever sent. And Pluto is 40 times farther away from the Earth, farther away from the sun than the Earth is. The Earth is like 93 million miles away, so Pluto is a lot away. And so...
Scientific terms.
A lot. It is very distant. And I was like, très distant, but that's not the most helpful thing I've said today. Also, so there's an episode of the Magic School Bus where they're like flying through the solar system, and at the very end of the episode they have this like corrections thing. We know the planets don't always line up like this, but it would have taken forever, blah, 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 blah. And then this person who's like writing in or whatever to the Magic School Bus people, what does he say? Oh, come back, brain, come back. Oh, he's like, and right now, Pluto is not even the farthest planet from the sun. Neptune is, because it's crossed into this orbit. So, like when we were kids, Pluto was not the farthest thing from the sun, but we always learned that Pluto was the most distant thing because it crosses in between Neptune's orbit. And then we decided to like launch this new spacecraft to go out to Pluto, and Pluto suddenly becomes the farthest planet in the solar system, and then a dwarf planet. And I'm just like, NASA, could you not have timed this better when it was a little bit closer? Because it has a very elliptical orbit. Okay, so New Horizons is going to Pluto. It goes the most fast. It goes 0.62 miles per second. Hang on. It goes faster than that. It goes over like 2,000 miles per hour. It goes so fast. So it left here in 2006, and it's going to get there in 2015. And it's going to learn about Pluto, but we don't have enough fuel. Basically, rocket science is how much fuel do you have to make something go fast? A lot of fuel, so that's why you need skinny astronauts. It doesn't have enough, like if they put out enough fuel for it to break or to go into an orbit, then they would have to like have saved all this fuel for this whole journey. So this spacecraft, the fastest spacecraft that we have ever made, is going to go by the smallest, formerly smallest planet in our solar system. So like, it's not like you're flying by Jupiter and being like, oh man, Jupiter, this thing goes on for miles. This is Pluto. Pluto has the same like surface area as Russia. So you're sending something that's going 2,000 miles per hour over Russia and telling you to take pictures while it's there. How well do we think this is going to work out, NASA? Apparently really well, because they got a lot of money to do this. But yeah, New Horizons. We'll learn about Pluto. The end! What were we talking about before that? Do we know? Pluto and it being imaginary?
Yep.
That was basically it. The end. When you have fat kids, you have a black hole. Now you know.